Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin, and our focus point here on today's episode is going to primarily result around WWE's SummerSlam, which will be held this Saturday, August 2nd and 3rd at the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. And this is the fun time of podcasts like these because we get to come on here and talk about the matches. We get to predict the matches. And, I know it sounds crazy, but we get to go any direction that we want to go to. And that's also what's unique about WWE because every time they have us believing that they're going to go down one direction, they make a change and they twist and they go completely to left field. And I've even, have seen over the last couple of days some podcasters who have put their bold predictions out there. And I mean really bold. They really go beyond the reign of giving you their opinion. So that's what's so great about an episode like today. There's 12 matches right now. I got all the matches. I confirmed with CBS Sports. I confirmed with the Wikipedia. Probably not the best two great resources to go off of, but I got 12 matches on the match card, 6 for night 1, 6 for night 2, and we will have ourselves a nice, good little conversation about SummerSlam, the hottest event of the summer. So that's going to be our primary of the day in this podcast that we'll talk about. But I got a few things I kind of want to just touch base with first before we get into any of that. First of all, got a busy weekend coming up ahead of us as we see the Reds take on the Atlanta Braves in an early 3-game series this weekend. So they play tonight, Thursday, July 31st, against the Braves at 7:10, I believe, or 6:40, one of the two. Then they play an early day game on Friday, August 2nd, at 12:35. This will all happen at Great American Ballpark. But on Saturday, August 2nd, they will head out to the Bristol Motor Speedway in the Speedway Classic in Bristol, Tennessee, as they take on the Braves in Game 3 of their 3-game series, where we would have Spencer Strider on the mound for the Braves, taking on Chase Burns for the Reds. And that game is scheduled to start at 7:15. Look, I just think this is a great opportunity. You have the team resembling the state above in Ohio, the Reds, the Braves. They're coming together, kind of meeting each other halfway to play a baseball game. Now, I wish it was a whole series, to be honest, but to be treated out at least one game in a different out of settings from a natural baseball stadium is always appreciative. And to see these two teams represent Major League Baseball in this format, if I was a baseball player and I was playing for the Reds or for the Braves, this would be such an honor to just be able to step foot into a situation like this. I think it's an honorary moment, and I don't feel like we hear enough about players who play at Fenway, or for those who step foot into Wrigley, for those who go to Dodger Stadium or even Yankee Stadium, where history is so rich, not only in the city, but in those stadiums. I mean, at Fenway, this is the same ground that Babe Ruth played on, right? You're walking the grounds on Wrigley with some of the greats to play baseball today. And I've always feel like one of my objectives and goals in life as a sports fan is to be able to go to Wrigley Field, to be able to go to Fenway Park, just to say that I've been to these historical venues. Um, no matter what the occasion is, I don't need the Red Sox to win. I don't need the Cubs to win a World Series and be there live. I just want to walk the grounds and and see the same things that have been implemented in sports over 100 years. Fenway, Chicago, and what LA, right, are the top three most the oldest active stadiums in Major League Baseball. So when you get a chance to go to be like the Dodgers last year, go to Japan and play, when you get a chance to go down to Mexico and play, when you get a chance this weekend for the Reds and Braves to go to Bristol and play in a non-baseball environment, I think those are cherishable moments. And I think it's really awesome to see Chase Burns, a pitcher who recently just got called up to the majors, just had his debut not too long ago, making headlines, being able to dive in and start the game for the Reds in day 3. So, with Hunter Green being out on the IL, who other pitcher do you think really honestly deserves it other than maybe Andrew Rabbit, right? Or even Nick Lodolo, which, I was watching in and outs of the Dodgers and Red series earlier this week. Nick Lodolo struck out, I think 11 Dodgers in his outing on Tuesday. And on top of that, he struck out Shohei Ohtani not once, not twice, but 3 times. And I'm just thinking to myself, and I'm like, what a lucky man. How many pitchers out there that can honestly say they have struck out Shohei Ohtani not even once, but 3 times? And I know the score didn't really resemble the performance that Nick Lodolo had, but gosh, you can't bypass that game, win or lose, and not be notable about Nick Lodolo's performance. He performed at a top tier level, and I just think that's something to, you get a chance to step back as a fan to wonder what's going through Nick's head. It's not just another game. It's an accomplishment. It is something you get to add to your resume that, whether, when your career is all said and done, this is your accomplishments. This is also something that you get to add to your resume in arguably trying to find another team if that ever presents itself down the road. So these are just moments, I think, in time, in history, in sports history, that you really want to capture. And I can't wait to be able to watch this game and to view what it's like. Now, I'd honestly wish I could be there, but we can't. Beggars can't be choosers here in the situation. So that is going on this weekend. We got the NFL Hall of Fame game tonight, right? Chargers and Lions, and that's going to be, it's just an environment. I know a lot of people don't really care about this game. It doesn't mean much towards statistics, whether or not either team makes it to the postseason or they even go to the Super Bowl. But for me, it's just football, right? You've been built up all summer long so far to finally get football back. To me, feels it feels good. It feels exciting. You don't really expect much out of this game, so maybe I'll tune it on for a few minutes and whatnot. But the overall concept is, hey, NFL preseason's here. All the other games start next weekend. And before you know it, the regular season is going to come. So I'm, that's something else to be excited about, right? Heading into this weekend. Then we talked about SummerSlam, so we'll get to that. Um, I'm going to be busy this weekend because, and I also want to invite you guys out too to join me because I will be getting the opportunity to broadcast live from the Butler Tech School of the Arts up in Fairfield Township, Ohio, on August 1st and 2nd. As Enlighten Studios is back at it again with a theater production called Dinner with a Few Sides of Drama that will premiere three premieres over the weekend. It is a stage adaptation of a classic film, 1967 film, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? And, you know, I've been presented a couple weeks ago with this project to interview and to broadcast live from their location. And you guys may have seen this already on the channel. I've published earlier this week an interview with Amy, Damon, and Josh. And I felt that was a success. Now, look, I haven't podcast, I haven't interviewed in over a year. I'm not making excuses, but I felt like there was at that time there was a little bit of rust shaken off. Well, Terry, who's the writer and director of this production, who's also the founder of Enlighten Studios, invited me out to the location earlier this week to do a live in-person interview. Was able to obtain some equipment that didn't just, I guess, didn't work out, as planned in the audio post production, and we just couldn't use the product that we created. So I was really bummed about that, but I had a great time talking to these people, getting to know who they are, their roles in the play, and what this play means to them. They have, Terry's so great about casting these roles, and there's such a dynamic to diversity, I'm going to say, to these to the casting, because got a chance to talk to someone who has their own, who does a lot of other work elsewhere. Josh does comedy in Indiana, and we have Alicia, who also does. This is her for very first time, and so when you get a diverse group such as the one you'll see this weekend in this play, you get also see what Enlighten Studios has to offer with the collaboration, with working together. A fun fact that I've learned, which I think this is very impressive out of a group of people, that they were given the script back in February, and the first table reading was back in February, and they just started the in-person rehearsals back in June, right? So 2 months to prepare. And let me remind you that some of these cast members live 2 to 3 hours away. So imagine, trying to rehearse 2 to 3 times a week, asking them to come down. And this is a community group. As far as pay and performance, there's, you're really giving yourself, your time to Enlighten Studios for the most part. But just imagine taking time out of your day, taking time out of your work schedule, coming down 2 to 3 times a week and putting on rehearsals. So I'm excited for this play. I will be given the opportunity to broadcast live from the location August 1st and 2nd. It's at the Butler Tech School of the Arts in Fairfield, Hamilton, Ohio, or Fairfield Township, Ohio. Tickets are still available. It's being called a hilarious, heartwarming, and Holy Spirit-led experience. Don't want to miss it out. If you got nothing to do this weekend, I encourage you guys to stop by, check us out, come by the table, say hi to us. They got great vendors, and I just think the experience will be wonderful through and through. So that's kind of where my schedule is hinted towards. We got some good news coming out of the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think this is a relief off of our shoulders. As we learned that Wednesday, Trey Hendrickson is finally with the Bengals practicing. Now, they're nowhere near a new contract signing, I guess, with Trey and, the Bengals, which is still disappointing. But, I believe coming into this season, Trey is one of their captains for defense, one of their top tier veterans for defense. We know that Trey wants to stay a Bengal for the remainder of his career. We know that the Bengals will love to keep Trey. I don't understand what's the middle ground of why they can't come up with the contract negotiation now. But despite that, we get Trey back on the field. It's time to move on. I thought it was very well said by Trey, very professional, that he said, listen, I don't want to be a distraction. I don't want this negotiation deal to be a distraction. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to practice. I got to get ready for the season because either way I'm playing, and I'll let my agents in the front office take care of the rest. And that is probably the best thing that you could possibly say in this situation. It sucks. I hate it. I don't like it myself. I prefer to see Trey Hendrickson part of this team for the next at least 3 to 4 years. When you see guys like TJ Watt and Myles Garrett get contracts and get guaranteed contracts for their position and for their efforts, it becomes a bit deceiving on why you're not receiving the same type of deals over here on the Bengals side. And is it because they are, what is the deal? Are they low on money? I don't think so. But it does become deceiving when you're the one stuck here, still trying to figure out the kinks of a negotiation, but yet the football season on the horizon, and while you have other teams preparing and have all that behind them, we have to worry about it. And we already have stress going into the season. I've said this, and I'm going to continue preaching about this. I question offensive line. I question defense overall. Yeah, I mean, we got Joseph Osai on the other end. We got Logan Wilson in the backfield. Sure. But let's look back at last year's results. Every time they lost when the opponent scored 25 points or more. And when they won, despite maybe 2 games keeping it under 10 points, they won with the opponents at least scoring 14, if not more points. My point that I'm trying to make is that this season's going to already be a nail grind. And the question is have you improved your defense enough to be confident in holding your opponents to reasonable numbers? I'm not asking for shutouts. I'm not asking for 3 points every single time. I'm asking for reasonable numbers to give our offense the ability and the opportunity to secure a football game offensively. We've seen it last year. The Bengals could go toe-to-toe with anyone in a shootout. There's no hiding about that. But we can't do that consecutively all 17 games of this year. We have to be able to trust and to have confidence in our defense that they can keep our opponents within 20 points or less to give our offense the ability to, win ball games. We also have to have the confidence and have the ability to close out ball games in the final 2 minutes in order to win ball games. I'm sorry to say this, but when you put our defense up, or if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, there's no worry. You're not worried if you're down with 2 minutes to go. You're not worried if you're up by three with 2 minutes to go because you're confident in your defense and you know what your offense could definitely do. So the importance of having Trey Hendrickson, a veteran on this roster, a veteran as a ball player, is key because he's going to take reins, take control of this defense that needs that extra support, that needs that control. I was reading a CBS article last night, and they mentioned how Trey was talking about how he was, he's in the position Sam Hubbard was in a few years back, and how it's time for him to step up. So I love the leadership. I love the captain version of Trey Hendrickson. I hope that whatever the situation is with the contract, they get resolved and here soon, because I will love nothing more but to go into the first game of the season without any complications. But it is overall just a relief to see one of our top tier players back on the field, get ready to go for this season. Not expecting him to play the first game of the preseason, probably not even the second game. But the fact that he's back, he's visible, he's not receiving any $50,000 fines, and we could get this ball rolling because we need to. It's been a lot of baseball talk here recently, and I kind of just want to go cover back over as the trade deadline end today. A lot of last minute deals happened. I just wanted to point out some notable ones. Specifically, what about that last deal when it came down to the AJ Preller and the Padres? It was reported earlier this morning that right-handed pitcher Mason Miller, which is a closer for the A's, as well as left-handed pitcher J.P. Sears, is heading over to the Padres for shortstop Leo De Vira, number 3 prospect right-handed pitcher Braden Nat, number 13 prospect right-handed pitcher Henry Baez, and number 17 prospect pitcher Eduardo Nunez. Apologize if I butcher these games. So it looks like the Padres made a move, and I don't know if that's the best move they made. I don't know if that's going to secure a deal. I know there was a lot of talks about how the Padres needed left fielder, maybe a second baseman or shortstop in that matter. But regardless, they made a move, and we'll have to see. Now, look, a team will go on and make a move this time of year. It's a risk because you're risking to improve your team in hopes that whoever you bring in will perform at a level to help your team advance to the postseason or win a division. And so, but we can't judge the outcome of a deal until at least the season's over with, if not later down the road. And a reference, but it's always a good sign because I remember talking earlier this week about the Yankees picking up Ryan McMahon, and I was watching the Yankees and Rays last night. They went into extra innings, and it was Ryan McMahon who hit the walk-off win for the Yankees, giving them the win. And I was just thinking to myself, man, wasn't that a deal? Because in Colorado, in a similar situation, Ryan McMahon hitting a walk-off doesn't mean crap to them because they're non-contingency. They're not in the postseason realm. It doesn't mean nothing other than it looks good on stats. But now when McMahon gets to hit that walk-off in New York with the Yankees against the Rays, a team who is fighting for a postseason spot here this October, it's worth a little bit more. And so if Ryan McMahon does nothing else throughout the course of this year, I would arguably say that this walk-off win last night done its job in the trade. Now, I was looking at some of these trades here that was happening last minute. Cleveland traded right-handed or Shane Bieber to the Blue Jays for Kai Stevens. St. Louis traded Steven Matz to the Red Sox for Blaze Jordan. Washington traded Michael Soroka to the Cubs for Ronnie Cruz and Christian Franklin. Arizona traded Eugenio Suarez to the Mariners for first baseman Tyler Locklear, right-handed pitcher Hunter Cranton, and right-handed pitcher Juan Borges. The Angels made some moves yesterday or this morning, as they traded Jake Eder and Sam Brown to Washington for Andrew Chafin and Luis Garcia, helping them out in the bullpen. And then the Cardinals also traded right-handed pitcher Ryan Hesley to the Mets for Jesus Baez, Frank Alexis, and Nate Dome. Probably butchering all those names. But I was looking at these trade deals, and there's nothing too spectacular, and it doesn't look like these teams really gave up anybody. But, it all works for purpose of improving a team. Because I don't think Steven Matz and a Blaze Jordan is comparable. I don't think what Arizona did is they got rid of Eugenio Suarez to pick up not one, not two, but three guys. Two guys out of the bullpen and another guy at first base. So they could shuffle some things around. A team who's not really looking into maybe not taking that direction towards a postseason run this year. So they're trying to sit back and maybe unload some expenses, as well as get some players that they have some options for. Washington was a prime example for this, because they sent over Michael Soroka, Andrew Chafin, Luis Garcia, and they got back 4 players for 3. And they all seem young guys, developable guys who look that they can be potentials. And obviously, Washington not in a good point right now heading into the season. Well, I think the Reds made some really good acquisitions here over the last 48 hours. And I'm actually shocked to see the moves that they made and to see who they gave up, to be honest, because the first transaction was yesterday, as they received Pirates division rivals, Ke'Bryan Hayes, a third baseman, for left-handed pitcher Taylor Rogers and shortstop Sammy Stefua. Now, I believe Sammy is a prospect, but when you look at Ke'Bryan Hayes, I've heard, maybe the at-bats is not as good as we hope to change his offense around, but defensively, he's a Gold Glover. And not only that, is that we have him on a $7.5 million per year, which is not as bad if you think about the third baseman we had heading into this year, Jeimer Candelario. And we still have another 4 or 5 years with him, as he is valid through the 29 season, and he has a club option for the 2030. But they also picked up a right-handed pitcher from the Rays this morning for Brian Van Bella and Adam Shawinowski, pitchers. And so whether you're helping in the bullpen, whether you're helping at a starting pitcher rate, you got rid of 4 players down in the maybe Taylor Rogers. I don't know where he was at, whether he was up in the main roster or not. But Ke'Bryan Hayes, I think highly of him. It's going to be a new adaptation as we see the Pirates next weekend. But I'm excited to see what he has to offer. It provides us defensive security. And like I said, we could always use him maybe off the bench. If he could get his bat around, we could always use him in the lineup. He will be a utility asset to this organization as we make that postseason run. Plus, it's a third baseman. You know, it's not a Sororas. No, it's not a big right-hander at bat. I get that, but it's still a player, and it's probably one of the top players that most teams would like to have. Zach Littell. I mean, another pitcher, not the best. It's not a Steven Matz. It's not a Kenley Jansen, but he can contribute to what we have to offer. So I was just looking around, these trades, and I was just surprised to see the Reds making moves. Very skeptic, very optimistic about that. We sit here and we complain that we want them to make moves, but we understand, what, this is who they are. This is what they're about. They are a short budget team. They're not going to really give up and spend a lot of money. And, hey, we're surprised to see the outcome of that. I was also surprised to see, the Angels making some moves. As I was watching a little bit of the Angels game last night, and they were just talking. This was a team that wants to be together, that wants to see how they could finish with this growing team. Even Mike Trout seems to be on a positive perspective with this ball club, and you add some additions. Now, does that guarantee you a wild card spot? No. Like I said, we don't know the results of these trades and the outcome, but I think for once, the Reds would like to be on the other side of this deal. We always kind of had gotten the short end of the stick. Jameer Candelario, short end of the stick in this, eating up a lot of his contract. So I like the deals. I hope that the return for what we given up, which I don't feel like it was such a big. We didn't give up a Sal Stewart. We didn't give up a Nick Lodolo, which I'm appreciative of. We didn't give up a Brandon Williamson or Andrew Abbott per se. Will Brennan we kept, which is great. I don't feel like we gave up anyone that can help contribute, that are contributing to our success now. We've added a few key players, so we have room for injuries now. And I feel like we've put ourselves in a pretty good physical point. All right, before we get into WWE SummerSlam, I do kind of just want to give you guys a rundown of what is going on in our channel here over the weekend. With all the sports going on outside, we are working on some content as we have tonight, the Chargers and Lions in the Hall. So we don't have the Chargers and Lions. It's the Houston Texans and the Chicago Bears. And I'll tell you here's my explanation. The NFL Madden season, new video game, doesn't come out until the middle of August. Now, I have actually expressed this in the community chat on my channel. And this is what I expressed. I play MLB The Show under franchise mode. I could select one team or I could select all 30 teams to control. I then am capable, whether it's one team or all 30 teams, I could go and play or simulate any game throughout the preseason and regular season and postseason as I want. Right? And during those simulation games, you are getting live stats throughout the course of the computer season. You're getting live scores from the computer season. You're getting live statistics from the computer season that follows throughout the course of the year. And I love that because it allows me to select any game and give you prime time games that are most interesting, especially as we head into the back end of this year. I want to give you more games that are playoff implicated bound. When you get to the NFL Madden video games, you could only choose one team, which I'm fine with. But the only other option you have other than playing that game, the season that you selected the team with, you only have the option to force a win or a loss for any other game during that week. So I have to get out of the franchise and play exhibition games to and then go back into the franchise and force that win. So that that score is not the actual score to what I played. I don't know if NFL has changed it this year. I'm pretty sure they haven't, and they're not going to. It makes it difficult because you get inaccurate rosters, you get unrealistic injuries and whatnot. You lose prime time opportunities. So like if you're trying to simulate and video record a Thursday night primetime game, a Sunday night or Monday night, maybe a Thanksgiving, and they had those special footage to show and display during that time. You don't get that option in exhibition. In quick play, you get exhibition, and that's it. You don't get to choose. You get to choose your commentary, which I don't really know about that. I'm not really a big fan. I don't really care. Doesn't do much to me. It doesn't bring me. Actually, it feels like it downgrades the game. But you don't get to choose. Hey, is this a Thursday night football game? Is this a Sunday night football game? And so it kind of gives you a different perspective. So first of all, the game doesn't come out until the middle of August. So I'm referring back to last preseason. The Houston Texans and the Bears were the Hall of Fame game, and I'm going through the preseason over there. When I'm done with the preseason, I will get the new video game at some time in August, and then I will continue with this new season with the new game. And that way, that's the only confusion I think people may have heading into this first month. And I apologize, but that's kind of how, just kind of getting also back into recording, because baseball probably takes about an hour and a half, but football takes a solid almost 2 hours, 2.5 hours to play for a simulation. And, the pausing is different than baseball does. So there's just a lot of different dynamics, but it kind of gets me back in the swing and some ideas of how I can pursue this heading into the year. So for those who are watching tonight's Hall of Fame game, no, it's not the Chargers and the Lions, but it's last year's preseason. Once we get into the regular season, we'll get into the regular year. And I'll have to do more posting of scores and whatnot. So that's what I'm intending to do. So with that being said, that's for football. For baseball, I got on the MLB The Show. I just got done with the weekend's game. I just have it copied over. I got to import it and then publish them. Now, going back, I highlighted this weekend to be about the Braves and the Reds. And I only publish Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that's even going to change when football season starts. So the Friday and Saturday is going to be the Braves and Reds. And instead of just having one game at the Motor Speedway Classic stadium that they released earlier this week, I'm having both games, both Friday and Saturday. It's going to be at the Motor Speedway. I tell you, there's like 1,000% difference in the audience, the crowd that in attendance. So tomorrow's game will be at 12:35. Hopefully, should be able to have that published correctly. Then I have SmackDown, and then I have main event earlier on Saturday. Then I got the second game on Saturday night, followed by Saturday night main event, which is a premium live event. And then the Sunday I'll have a 6 o'clock, I think the Cleveland Guardians and the Minnesota Twins, I believe, or something like that, as for Sunday night baseball. So a lot of stuff going on to check out at the channel. Be sure to stay tuned. for more stuff. And as the week progresses, you're already starting to see the NFL games for next week, for next week, as I have 3 of them, and I'll probably explain more about that next week. All right. Well, I've cut a lot of time into this, and I haven't even got into SummerSlam. So let's dive into this 2-night event at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, August 2nd and August 3rd. SummerSlam, the biggest event of the summer, as we will see 6 matches on night 1 and 6 matches on night 2. I've kind of gotten lost in the shuffle, to be honest. With all the storylines presented, some of them, there's probably one here that I probably won't predict. But, I like this card. I feel like it's full of different dynamics. Both nights are unique. I feel maybe night 1 is a little bit lighter, and ease into it. Night 2 really hits hard with the street fight, the no DQ, no count out, last chance for the IC title, the steel cage, and then you have that big 6-pack TLC match. But let's get down into it. Night 1. This is what I have on my docket, and if I'm incorrect, I apologize. And let's also just remember this is subject to change. But from what sources have told me, night 1 we kick things off with the WWE Women's Championship match as Jade Cargill takes on Tiffany Stratton. Now, let's remind you, Tiffany Stratton, beat Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, and she's been champion since, and I think she's done a marvelous job. Jade Cargill has had to deal with Naomi over the last few months, and she won the Queen of the Ring tournament, beating Asuka, and has earned herself a championship opportunity against Tiffany Stratton at SummerSlam. We already know what Jade Cargill is capable of doing. And what troubles me, because this is from my point of view, I've only recognized Jade Cargill for what she's accomplished from her AEW days, with all due respect. Therefore, when I look into what I see Jade Cargill going into this Saturday against Tiffany, I see a dominant, powerful woman who is going to squash her opponent, because she's done so in the past. And so it's hard for me to walk out not saying Jade Cargill is not walking away with the WWE Women's Champion. She is up there a little, let's forget about age for a second. If you put just these two names and what they're known for first, I have to say Jade Cargill is number 1 all the time. But we can't forget about what Tiffany has done and how much she's grown since winning the Money in the Bank briefcase last year, cashing in, becoming champion, beating Charlotte, and successfully holding it on SmackDown for all this time. So I look at this match and I say Jade has to win. It only makes sense and it keeps her dominant reign. And, this is the time where maybe things start rolling over, because we look at the back end of the year. We look at what's going to happen in Paris, what's going to happen at Survivor Series. And I could see Jade win. But then I question myself, because why are we taking the title off of Tiffany? When she's building momentum, when she's building confidence, and she's growing as an athlete, She has the fans behind her. And I've already seen WWE pull the title from Jey Uso. So why would we see WWE do it again? And so I would like to see, and I'm going to predict Tiffany Stratton to win. And here's the reason why. And like I said, we talk about crazy predictions here. I can one feud that I would love to see even at Survivor Series or even a build up down the road is Bianca taking on Tiffany Stratton. Or not Bianca. Bianca taking on Jade Cargill. Earlier this year, Bianca was in an oppression because she was trying to figure out what's going on with both of her friends, Naomi and Jade. Naomi attacks Jade, takes that women's tag team title. Jade comes back, takes out Naomi. A lot of stuff as went on since then. I would like to see Bianca Belair attack Jade Cargill, turning Bianca into a heel in this run. And Tiffany retains the title. That is going to be one of my bold predictions heading into SummerSlam. Tiffany retains the WWE Women's Championship while Bianca comes out, interferes in the match, costs Jade the title, and there you go. Another way I could kind of see this progress is Jade win, and then at some point Bianca betrays her, maybe even at Survivor Series or whatever the case may be. But like I said, bold predictions here. So I got Tiffany winning. The next match that I have on this docket is more of, for me, a celebrities match, and I feel like it just fits in. It's Randy Orton teaming up with Jelly Roll to take on Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. And I'm looking at this, and all I see is a match that was put together to promote Jelly Roll, but also to give Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, and Logan Paul a storyline at SummerSlam, because hey, you can't have SummerSlam without your top names. I think it's just be a simple. I like to see I'm going to go with Jelly Roll and Randy Orton to win as a fan favorite. I can see some sort of reason why they wouldn't let them win. But that's what I'm going to go ahead and select. It's not an important match for me. I'll watch it just to, let's see what happens. I don't think Jelly Roll is going to get a lot of time in the ring. So it's really going to be a 1-on-2 match. I could see Logan Paul be snobby and kind of roll up for a win. Jelly Roll's cost Randy Orton a match before, and hey, anything could happen. But I'll go ahead and go with the fan favorite, Randy Orton and Jelly Roll in this. We have on night one the Women's Tag Team Championship match, as Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair will take on Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. It's funny how things just work out in your favor. We see Roxanne being introduced into the Judgment Day a little while ago, and we knew that Liv Morgan was not going to be satisfied about this initially. But then Liv gets hurt, and you kind of force Roxanne to fill in. And you got to admit that she's not doing a terrible job with Roxanne. As a matter of fact, there's chemistry there. And so I feel like this becomes, now I know they're keeping Dominic and Roxanne's relationship separate, and that's great. That's fine, because Dominic, I think, has that singles push, has that push as a individual competitor, doesn't need a distraction as he's dealing with AJ Styles. But now it also gives Liv Morgan something when she comes back as a betrayal, as a, hey, you have been, what's going on here? Why are you pairing with this person when we were teams? But at the other side of the table here, I like Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair's chemistry, and I would like to see them as the new women's tag team championships. I'm sure it may not last long, but it keeps them going, and I like to keep it going. Now, I gotta choose Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. I would like to see possibly Liv Morgan. She doesn't have to compete, but return and be furious about what's going on. With her friends and with Roxanne Perez. So I would like to see Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair become new women's tag team championships. So I'll select them to win their match on Friday or on Saturday, excuse me. All right, another match coming up. We have Sami Zayn taking on Karrion Kross. Sami Zayn won the first battle, and Karrion Kross has really turned it around in recent weeks. This is just a plain singles match, but here's a stipulation, and I think this is bogus. If Karrion Kross wins, Sami Zayn will have to tell Karrion that he was right. But if Sami wins, Karrion will have to tell Sami that he was wrong about him. It's a storyline that I love these two men competing. I love the story leading up to this. I like this. It's kind of new to this match card that we haven't seen in a while, but could it be something different? Sami wins. You follow Karrion Kross. You are within his domain. You do what he says. He controls you. He owns a part of you. Boy, Sami Zayn wins. Karrion Kross has to go crawl back into the hole that he encounters. Therefore, I hate to say this, but I would say Sami Zayn will win this match here. Listen, and I wouldn't be surprised if this match, Karrion Kross will walk away with the victory, because Karrion has really been that silent sheep that has been making a name for himself in the WWE by his small little actions, and he's not taken part of anything big. He's not involved into a huge storyline. He's not competing for a championship. I just don't like the stipulation based off the outcome of this. But I got Sami Zayn winning. We have the tag team match between Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed taking on Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. Let's remember that Seth Rollins is out with an injury. Let's remember that Paul Heyman is in the corner of Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Let's remember that Braun Breaker is this. I think, listen, we're circling Braun Breaker and highlighting his name, because I feel that we're focusing this and, the outcome of this match around him. He's claiming to be this big dog, the next big dog, that WWE is here and works for him, not Roman. And so logically, I would explain and I would express how, if you're trying to push Braun, a win in this match will do so. It would beat Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. And I'm just convinced on it. Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker works well for me. And I like to see that progress down the road. But the only reason why Roman Reigns is back is because he's seeking refuge over Paul Heyman betraying him, quote unquote, betraying him. Jey Uso is just another person, part of the family that says, listen, I love you, Roman, and I'm going to be there for you. And that's the only reason why he's involved in this match. And the only reason why Bronson Reed is involved in this match is because he's the third wheel to the faction that which put Seth Rollins on the shelf. But I still focus on Braun Breaker and how can you fall away with this match, uplifting everyone in the ring. Well, you have Jey Uso's already established. Roman Reigns is already established. Braun Breaker is getting that push. And so it seems logical sense that you find a way to have Braun win. I think a win, even if it's a cheap shot, a low blow from Paul Heyman, helps elevate the heel move from Braun Breaker and this team. So I am going to go with Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed at all cost could win this match. On night one, we wrap up with the World Heavyweight Championship as CM Punk takes on Gunther. It's interesting because if you saw the Unreal on Netflix that led you up towards WrestleMania, you saw that the match card originally was supposed to be CM Punk versus Gunther, and they stirred away from that. Now we're getting our WrestleMania card. And it makes more logical sense now why we are putting off why we took the title off of Jey Uso and we go back to Gunther. I still stand by my statement. I stand that you would have broken Gunther down till he hit rock bottom. He came into Saturday Night Main Event, beat Goldberg, and this is his climb back up. But I feel like this is giving CM Punk his flowers. A champion, he's returned to, regain his championship. He's returned to regain his throne on the top of the WWE. And I just have to say that he's going to get it. I think if this match was planned for WrestleMania, where CM Punk was going to possibly beat Gunther at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship, and they've done significant amount of effort to resurface this by SummerSlam, then why not? It's also a now or never. I don't know how many years is left in CM Punk. I don't know, I don't know what's left, in his, and if we wait any longer, we may not get the opportunity to see CM Punk become champion again. So I will have to say CM Punk over Gunther. All right, so we move on. We got 6 more matches. I know, bear with us. It's been a long episode, but we're getting into night 2 of SummerSlam on Sunday, August 3rd. We'll start off with the match that I can't really predict, to be honest, and that is the 6-pack match. You got the Wyatt Six, Dexter Lumis, and Joe Gacy taking on Andrade and Rey Fenix, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, Fraxium and Axiom and Nathan Frazier, Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, and the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. Gosh, A lot. That's 12 men in the ring at the same time. You know, the other night, last week on SmackDown, I really captivated about this feud when you saw this brawl to end SmackDown and Nick Aldis makes this match. Well, it wasn't even Nick, I don't think. It was Adam Pearce or something like that. He makes this match, whoever does. And this is going to be for the WWE Tag Team Championship. It's a six-pack TLC pit lot match. So you'll see tables, you'll see ladders, and you see chairs with two belts suspended high above the ring. And, you know, we haven't seen this in quite a while. And so I'm actually excited to see what they're capable of doing. And it may seem like a lot of repetitive stuff, people flying through, people going through tables, going through chairs, and all that fun stuff. But when you look at everyone you have in the ring, Andrade, Rey Fenix, they both can fly. Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, they put their bodies on the line. Angelo Dawkins, Montez Ford is another one who's really takes some risk. Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, if you look for anyone flying, it's going to be them too. Axiom, Nathan Frazier as well. A lot of guys who's looking to fly and cause destruction. I want to point out, though, Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy, who's entering this as champions. And I think I'm just more excited about the match compared to whoever wins. I don't care who wins. I think I would like to see the Wyatt Six hold on to it. But here's the interesting note. I saw this earlier this week is that the Wyatt... Oh, no. I lost my camera. There we go. The Wyatt Six... not the Wyatt Six. The Wyatt family debuted at SummerSlam. The Fiend debuted at SummerSlam. And now the Wyatt Six are debuting at SummerSlam as their first PLE. So, sure, let's go ahead and go with Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis, although I can believe that we will see... Sorry, I have camera issues right now. I can believe and see a new champion walking away. I just don't know who. Probably Andrade and Rey Fenix. Possibly. But man, it's going to be an exciting match. Alrighty, up next, we have the Intercontinental Championship match between AJ Styles, Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio has been playing this injury card where he hasn't been clear to wrestle, been avoiding AJ Styles. Well, guess what? Come Sunday, you can't avoid him. You're going to have to face him. You're going to have to defend this IC title. Like I said, you don't need a Liv Morgan. You don't need anyone coming interrupting. It needs to be a one-on-one. It does so good to see Dominic kind of take his own pathway and developing his own stories by himself. I feel like has used everything that he could possibly do with the group. So I see Dominic retaining this title. I think a win over AJ Styles does wonders for him. Just builds him even more. That's why I like Dominic Mysterio in this situation. We have the United States Championship as Jacob Fatu will meet Solo Sikoa, inside a steel cage. Just because you're locked inside a ring inside a cage doesn't mean there's not any outside interference. I think Solo Sikoa walks out as champion unless Jacob Fatu can bring out anybody else other than Jimmy Uso. Solo Sikoa has created this new faction, has brought in new guys. I don't know where they fit under his minions in a sense. And they're going to have to get involved. Can Jacob Fatu overcome it? Sure. But I just think he comes up a bit short, keeping the title on Solo Sikoa. We have the Women's Intercontinental Championship match as Lyra Valkyria will take on Becky Lynch in a no DQ, no count out, and last chance match. So basically, this is the last time they're going to meet in this storyline. And there's no countouts, no disqualifications, anything goes. And how can you not see Bayley interfering? Now the question's going to be is who she interferes on. Do you see her interfering on Lyra Valkyria, who was supposed to be her tag team partner, who was supposed to be her friend, who they've had battles with? Or could you see Bayley cost Becky Lynch the championship? For me, it's an anything goes match. I see Bayley getting involved, and I think she goes against Bayley or Becky Lynch. And I think Lyra picks up the victory again. This feud has been solely wrapped around pushing Lyra Valkyria as she has grown, as she has improved. They needed to pair. And what's interesting is because Tiffany Stratton has been paired with Charlotte Flair earlier this year, and it pushed Tiffany Stratton to be this new name that WWE fans want to get behind at Tiffany time. Lyra Valkyria comes up to the WWE, and unless you're watching NXT, unless you've been following Lyra Valkyria in WWE or even outside, you don't really know who she is. And so when she first arrived to WWE last year, it was kind of a stalemate. Who is she? What is she capable of? Why is she being put into this storyline? Well, what I find is that Lyra teams up with Becky. They have this story as Lyra has looked up to Becky as her role model, as a wrestling hero for her and her inspiration to her career. But it's also now Becky turning the table, Bayley involved, two established names, going after Lyra, making her have to compete against all odds. And this forces her, forces the WWE to get behind Lyra Valkyria. So since WrestleMania, I think this feud that's been going on has really done significance in putting Lyra on the map as the next person, as a next top tier person. And you can see the dynamic and the changes. We already hear the rumors of, possibly Becky Lynch is going, could at some point take more of a backseat role. Bayley's not there each and every week. So when you could get these veterans who define the women's wrestling or the women's division for the last decade now start giving back and help pushing some of these younger females, I think it's well noted. And I think Becky and Bayley has done such a great job pushing Lyra and what she's capable of. And it's kind of hard not to see her win again. So I'm saying Lyra picks up the victory. Bayley could go on and maybe ambush or cost Becky Lynch the title somehow. All right. Let's jump into the Women's World Championship match. It will be a triple threat match as Rhea Ripley takes on Io Sky and Naomi, who cashed in her Money in the Bank briefcase weeks ago to become the new Women's World Champion. And, Io and Rhea has been going at it for quite some time. And all three women are fantastic in the ring. It's kind of hard to see a story without Rhea Ripley in it. You kind of always relied on her. But this has really pushed this is just, for me, really pushed Io Sky in singles competition, making a name for herself. I don't think she needs to be paired with anybody like she used to. And gosh, her in-ring ability is just something different. Naomi, another one who I think, deserves this moment, deserves the spotlight. I think Naomi finds a way to win. I feel like she has to. And so I think that Naomi will walk out still your women's world champion. Um, Although, the question is how do you get Rhea Ripley and Io Sky to move on from the women's world championship? And I'm not saying both of them should be moving on, but how many times do you have to lose a championship match before it's like, all right, who's next in line? And when you see what Bayley, Becky Lynch, and Lyra Valkyria do, or what they do in the ring, week in and week out, you're building people to replace Rhea Ripley and Sky. So in the books, Naomi, I think, still needs this push. She still needs to portray this bad personality, this rebellious, now you're favoriting me even though even though I had to do certain things. So I have Naomi winning. And saving the best for last, the street fight between Cody Rhodes and John Cena. This circles back around after Cody Rhodes loses the Undisputed Championship to John Cena at Man, I just want to think about this for a second. A lot's going to happen here, and this is where I think the storyline is big if they play the cards right. I am probably one of 1,000 or 1,000,000 people that want to see this happen. Street fight. Anything goes. Anyone can come out. Anything could happen. Cody Rhodes, since losing his championship, is trying to find a way back into that picture. You see John Cena turn heel. You see John Cena take us on a heel run. That doesn't necessarily have to end. But I think that the tables reverse. A few months ago, we saw John Cena low blowing Cody Rhodes, becoming heel, taking that undisputed WWE championship from Cody. Now I think we see Cody turn heel. We see Cody cause John Cena, turn and low blows John Cena. We see Cody takes the undisputed WWE championship. And we see a heel Cody Rhodes. And I think we see a face John Cena. It could go in any direction. I'm saying Cody Rhodes walks out as undisputed WWE champion. That's is what I would like to see. Whether we get that or not is the uncertainty, right? This is what we're going to tune in. But let's understand and remind ourselves that the WWE works in mysterious ways. When they have you thinking one way, they have you thinking that something's going to happen. Specifically, it twists and turns. It almost feels too good to be true. It almost feels, if you watch this storyline and you've seen the adjustments and the demeanor and the tension that has had to happen, you've seen that Cody Rhodes have had to take a different approach to get back to this championship level. He's had to take some risk. He's had to be careless, and you've had to see this ruthless aggression style from Cody to embark this feud that John Cena wants no part of anymore. John Cena says, I've beat you. I don't need to beat you again. It's part of this heel gimmick that you've even seen in recent months. You could see it in his eyes. Do I really want to continue being heel, or man, I'm going to miss this when I'm gone. Whether, and it's kind of hard because, I don't want to touch anything. I don't want to know anything. I don't want to see any future of how John Cena plans to end this end of the year because he has a few months left, a few more appearances. But it is coming up. We're at the end of July. We're going to be in August. We got August, September, October, November, December, 6 months. And I tell you, the first 6, 7 months have kind of flew on by. And this back end of the year is going to fly by too. So, but I guess it's a preference. I don't mind seeing Cody heel. If you got CM Punk as a face who becomes champion, if you have, I feel like that balances things out. I think Cody has some more opponents he can tackle on because Roman is now face. Randy is another good element. Jey Uso is another good element. Sami Zayn is another good element to run because they're all face. They all make sense. They have all helped Cody Rhodes out. Now it's, well, hey, man, what are you doing? This is not like you. This is not who you are. Maybe, you see what The Rock did by turning John Cena against the WWE, and you want a taste of that, right? Because ultimately you're going to win. You're going to get everything you want. And maybe Cody goes on to this power rage of being at the top of that table. There's just so many things that you can do with the tables turn. And now this allows John Cena to kind of reevaluate, is the heel turn still the right decision? Is going back to face? I think the fans will love him, hate him, regardless of what happens. And so I argue that this would be best for business. It catches people off guard. It could be as predictable as catching people off guard. But, John Cena's had that run. At the same time, can you keep that run going? And sure, hey, this can lead up to Survivor Series. It could even lead up to the final. John Cena could be carrying this undisputed WWE Championship into his final night at the Gardens, TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. This, and then he drops. I don't know. But that's what's so lovely about it. Look, listen, those are my predictions. I want to hear what you guys have to think or say down in the comments below. Feel free to let me know who you think is going to walk out successful at SummerSlam. I think there's a lot of impactful things that if you're a fan, you can enjoy 2 nights, like I mentioned earlier in this program. There's a lot of things going on this weekend you don't want to miss. So we will come back next week. We will talk to you about the results of SummerSlam and life moving forward, sharing our experience over at the Butler Tech School of Arts with dinner with a few sides of dramas premiering. Hopefully, like I said, if you guys are in the area, I want to see you guys out there. Stop by the table, say hi, get on that live stream, share some thoughts and some expressions. So that is all I have for you in today's episode. Hope everyone has themselves a wonderful weekend. Stay safe out there. And until next time, you guys take care.